Peace, blessings, love, and light to you all. Thank you for tapping in once again to the podcast. I am Multiverso, and today I have a very, very special treat for you all. I know me and my co-host, we were trying to decide what we were going to do for the next episode because of the holiday week. But I have a very, very special guest with me today. He's actually one of our listeners, and he reached out to me after the last episode. He had some questions that he needed some answers to. He wanted some answers to. So we sat down, we had a conversation, and I just told him, you know what, maybe it's time for you to just go ahead and come on the show. So without further ado, everyone, I introduce to you Dario. Dario, where are you from?
Hey everyone, happy Sunday, happy early Thanksgiving. Originally I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, but I live in Trinidad. I grew up in Trinidad.
Okay. And how long have you been here on this side? We're in Texas, so we're in Houston, Texas. So how long have you been here in Texas?
Been here for 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, a little over 8 years I've been here for.
Okay.
Came here in 2015. Before here, I lived in New York.
Okay.
For 21 years, over 21 years. Yeah, so I came here, made a transition to Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm happy. One of the best decisions I've made in my life. Yeah.
Okay. 21 years, New York. I can only imagine. I'm from Baltimore originally, so I know it was time to get away from there.
Yeah.
All right, so today's topic, we're going to get into, let me go back to the last episode. So the last episode, we talked about dating and spirituality. That's a very deep conversation for a lot of people, right? And many people can agree that when it comes to those two being combined together, there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. And you have to, of course, think on both sides, the left and the right side. Now, with today's episode, just to caveat off of that, as a little special episode, while my co-host is out of the building and out of the scene, this episode is actually going to be still on dating, but it's going to go more into depth on men dating, modern men dating, and just how much things have changed between the modern men today versus men 20, 30 years ago.
Okay.
And I think this is it's a very, very unique discussion, because now we have two gentlemen sitting across from each other.
That's right. Yeah.
So he can either agree or disagree with what I'm saying and vice versa. And then we can, we can debate about it, and then we come together on a common ground as men. I'm gonna drop that gem for y'all right now. You come to a common ground as men to make a decision and come to an agreement, which is something that we'll also get into during this conversation, because that's not something that's being done nowadays between men.
Correct.
Young and old. That tradition has long been lost, and now it's time to hold us men accountable for the way we are, instead of trying to put everything on the women and make the women seem like they're changing the culture, make them seem like they're raising our kids differently. At some point, we as men have to take accountability, and that applies when it comes to dating. That applies when it comes to just relationships and building families, when it comes to maintaining families, when it comes to maintaining friendships. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to start immediately, because that's been lost. So we're going to get into the dating, and we're going to tie that accountability into the dating scene of how modern day men are behaving and the things that they're not doing that they should be doing.
Right.
So my first question to you would be, what exactly do you think changed the way men started to see dating differently? So when a man used to approach a woman, it always used to, most of the time it used to be that way. 95% of the time, it was always, if you deal with any old school women out there, like they will still be kind of traditional in that sense. Like they will actually wait for a man to approach them, introduce themselves, start a conversation, then ask for the number.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then things would progress from there. Now you have these modern day men that think degrading women or speaking to women on a certain level, in a certain tone, is going to attract women to them. And then you have backlash from the modern day females that are on a different program, which I'll let my co-host Majestic Alana get into that, because I know she's going to want to dig into that.
Yes.
But for men, where do you think that started to change as far as the way men approached women for dating?
I think it changed. I would say it changed when the evolution of technology took over. People communicate a lot differently these days now. You don't get the same interaction. You don't get that same feeling anymore when you talk to someone. I think the expectations of people are a lot higher now. People want this now, they want that now. They didn't ask for these things 30 years ago, 20 years ago even.
Right.
You would never even hear someone say, well, I want to go here on a first date, or I want to travel to this country, or stuff like that. Now it's, it just became more, I want to say transactional in a way, instead of the love.
Right.
I think we need to get back to love.
Right.
Men loving women, women loving men.
Exactly. Man, you hit that right on the head, and I'm over here like throwing my thumbs up and throwing my hands up in the air. That is absolutely, I can agree on all of those terms as far as how technology has really had a big impact, a big influence on the majority of, that reasoning. I've also started to realize that when it comes to dating, men are not really held to a standard that they were back 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
The women, like I said in the previous episode, the women are the most powerful creatures on this planet.
Correct. Yes.
They set the tone for everything. It's okay. So just imagine your mother or my mother saying, "Hey, don't do this," or "This is the way you need to do this. This is the way you're supposed to do this." Naturally, as a man, you're going to listen to that woman. For one, that's your mother. And regardless of how old you are, or who you're married to, or who your girlfriend is, if your mother tell you something, that's like a God-spoken word.
Right.
So that's a lot of power behind that voice, man. So when you look at the way some of the women carry themselves nowadays, I think they've actually allowed men to be at a lower entry level standard when it comes to dating. when it comes to approaching them. They give them easy access. So I'm not saying that women are to blame, but they are, not all women, but a lot of women out there are the reason why some of the men out here nowadays, these modern day men, actually act the way they act.
Right.
And their level of respect is so below the bar from what the standard used to be 30 years ago.
Correct.
You would have, like you said, like chivalry. You can't even express chivalry nowadays because the guy or the man will be looked at as, oh, he's soft.
Right.
He's a soft guy.
Right.
Oh, he's a sucker. Oh, he's a, what's the other term they use?
A simp.
A simp? Yeah, simping. He's simping, right?
Yeah.
He's simping. He's an F-boy.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard all of these things, man. And I'm like, at what point did that become acceptable for people to not only label people like that, but degrade people like that? And especially for a man that's willing to put forth the effort to be with a woman, to show his interest towards a woman. And it's like, oh, he's simping, he's weak, he's whack, all of these other terms, man. And it's those things are what I refer to as women contributing to the problems that men are having nowadays dating. The modern men, the old school, we don't care. Like, we have our ways, you're either with it or you're not. If we approach you and you don't show interest, okay, that's cool. We just take it as, you weren't the one for me in the first place.
And we move on.
But these young men out here nowadays, man, is really, I see the swing in how things changed. And that was the reason for this whole episode, because of the last video when we were talking about dating and spirituality, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to certain aspects of just dating, period, there's a lot that needs to be repaired. There's a lot that needs to be addressed when it comes to this dating thing, this dating scene. And we're talking about our future generations here.
Oh, yes.
Because marriages and children, I'm not going to say that all relationships bear children out of marriage, but those relationships, those strong built foundational relationships, dating someone, and then next thing you know, you may create a child together, or you may create several children together. In a dating situation. And those people may be together 10, 15, 20 years and never get married.
Right.
Then you have, on the other hand, you have people that do marry, and they have young families, small families, big families, whatever. But the whole thing about evolution at this point, and our progression and our evolution and survival, is really what I see is at risk. And I want to move a mountain right now, Dario, but I'm not. Because there's a lot of things in the backdrop that play along with that whole, we're going to downgrade the masses and all of that. But this is not even the tip of the iceberg. But we have to start with the ground level, and that is the dating aspect. People aren't dating. The young men out here aren't dating, man. And it's not something that's hidden, because we see it everywhere.
Everywhere, yes.
The OF, the O fans. I'm not even gonna say the whole thing, the O fans. And then you got all these other websites, man, and you got people doing adult escort services and all of that, and they make it seem like it's cool. Like, okay, if you want, to enjoy yourself and have a good time, just call me up or hit me in my DMs type stuff.
Right.
It's not the old school way of meeting someone in person. Say, hey, can I take you to the movies? Now, if that's simping, this world has really gone left. If that's called simping, if a woman cannot accept a simple, friendly gesture as a dinner date. I don't care where it is. Red Lobster. You know how much Red Lobster is?
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
and
is.
in today's economy, you know, you have these women. Oh, don't take me to breakfast in the morning at Denny's or IHOP.
Right.
Like it's not even that. It's the principle. It's the principality behind the thought. Now, a dude can be like, no, I'm not taking you nowhere. I'll go to McDonald's and pick you up a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Right.
But for a man to want to take you out and be seen with you and be in your presence and vice versa,
yeah,
that's a bold statement alone.
Yeah.
And it's like the women, the modern women, a lot, I'm not say all of them, but the majority of them are tearing that down. They're tearing it away from the men, and in turn, that makes the men transform into something totally different.
Yes.
Because they're like, okay, well, this is not acceptable. This is not what women want.
Yes.
Well, how did you even come to that conclusion that this is not what women want?
Right.
Well, the women are saying it.
Yeah.
You have these women that's on these platforms that have these creator influences. They're influencers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a large ball of power in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to changing culture, the women have a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot to do with it, man. And I like I said, women are the most powerful creatures, but at the same time, we have to get to a point where I think we have to come back together.
Mm-hmm.
The groundwork is in the dating process, going back to the old ways, going back to the way things were working for us.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to people, meeting at the mall, man, walking around. You remember holding hands and walking around the mall, man, and you go get a little soda or lemonade or something simple, man. Like, and just walking around holding hands at the mall was like, you felt good. Even if you're walking down the street and the female was holding your hand, man, it was like, that was like your best day of that week.
Yes.
Regardless of what happened, like, yeah, we were walking downtown and, you know, we were holding hands and then we hugged and get smooching and kissing each other and stuff like that, man. Like, so I think that you had mentioned something when we spoke the other day, and you were talking about how you would rather be like you're still old school, like you would rather meet someone in person,
right?
Like that's where you're at. You don't think that, you know, the whole internet thing and all of that is meant for us.
Not for me. It's not for me. Yeah. You actually touched on a good some good highlights in what you just said there. Mm-hmm. I remember going out on a date and it would make you feel away. You know, you and a woman go out, like you said, go to the mall, go to the park. You know, you guys hold hands, you guys talk, mm-hmm. Actually get to know each other. You know, and you know, there was chivalry there. You know, a guy opened the door. You know, he come and he get the girl, or if she rather they meet where they have to meet, mm-hmm. To go on a date. You know, something simple. It's a first date, so it shouldn't really be about money or how much you're gonna spend for that night. Right? It should really be about us getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. Right? Whatever questions you may want to ask me, whatever questions I may want to ask her, or whatever questions she would want to ask him, mm-hmm. Should really be the highlight of the date, of the first date. And I feel like that's missing now in today's time. Modern dating has changed. Mm-hmm. Majestic Alana, shout out to you as well. Enjoy the show. She mentioned something on the last show where she says the lyrics to music has changed. You know, 30 years ago was the 90s. Even I would go as far as 40 years ago, when it was the 80s. We talked about love. The artists back then talked about love. taking a woman out, caring for that woman. Even if it don't work, okay, we're gonna try to make it work, and it was really about love. Yes, they had the heartbreak and the cheating and all of that songs, but predominantly it was more about love, and the 90s just progressed it to another level. R&B was like the main source of music to go to in the 90s.
Yes. Yes. I think my whole CD book was like, so remember you had the little books, right?
Yeah.
You put the CDs in there, right? Everybody like, oh man, I gotta get me another book for my CDs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty much like when you go to your homeboy's car, man, or you go to your homeboy's house, it was, the first thing you reach for is that CD book.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, what kind of CDs you got in here?
Yeah.
And some people had the four sleeve pages. Some people had the 2 sleeve pages.
Yeah.
But it was like the whole, like at that point, like the whole book was like R&B CDs. So you had your Ushers, and of course you had mixtapes.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody was dropping mixtapes.
Definitely, yeah.
So you get a mixtape, man, and you have 20 to 25 different artists on one CD, man. That was like, that's all you needed.
That's all you needed, yeah.
And now, you know what? I don't even know of any men, modern day men, like I'm speaking of like between the ages of 23, from 19, 18 years old up to about 23, 24 years old.
Right.
When I was that, in that age frame, in that age gap, man, I had like, there was not one R&B. If it just came out, I had it.
Right.
Like that was my priority. Like I had to get the new mixtape, the new CD, whoever dropped the album, I had to get it. Yeah. And I was playing it wherever I drove. I was playing it, and I play it loud too. Yeah. Because that's how it was back then. The women would catch, they would hear the songs, and they, he playing that new da da da. Yeah. Yeah. So that was how we started to really transition, man. The way we communicated was a lot of the communication, and I'm glad you said that, it was expressed through music.
Yes.
The music was made, but we actually used that as a tool to communicate with each other. And if you think about it in that aspect, right? If you think about the way that the ancient civilizations did it, the way they communicated was through sound.
Yes.
Back in the late 80s, early 90s, that same concept was used. And we were still in the age of Aquarius back then. I'm sorry, the age of Pisces. Yeah. So that whole phase was all about love. That whole time was all about, the whole time period was all about love. And when you, like I said, when you look at the concept of communicating through frequency and vibration, that's when you tap into the spiritual side of things. Mm-hmm. So, like I was talking to Queen Alana about that, and I was like, you know what? It really does tie into the episode, because when you start talking about music and frequencies, like, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't even catch that on the last episode. Yeah. But that is the way that we used to communicate, and the feelings, the emotions that female or that guy felt when they heard that music. That's what brought two people together. Right. That's what attracted them to each other. A female may hear a guy playing a song, a guy may hear a female playing a song. And immediately those lyrics, that frequency grabs your attention, and now your attention is on that individual that frequency is coming from. Right. And it was like, oh, let me go get her number real quick. Oh, let me get his number real quick, girl. He playing a new Genuine. Yeah. It was like that, man. 112. Yes. One of the most known groups. Yes. Jagged Edge, 112. Yes. Drew Hill, Casey and JoJo, man. If you played any of those albums, like that was like a recipe for disaster when you stepped out the house. Oh yes. You just know, I just got to get me a nice little shirt and some jeans to put on, maybe a button up. Yeah. And you throw in a Drew Hill CD, man, and go out, and you just knew by the time you got back home that you would have a connection with somebody by the time you got home.
Correct, yeah.
And that's crazy that it's that you brought that up, man, because it really ties into the whole spiritual aspect of us connecting. Now then, back to the modern day, where you have men that actually, that's what I said, I don't know anybody in that age range because I don't see it, I don't hear it nowadays.
That's true.
Most of the time when I'm riding around, man, what I hear is the mumble rap. I hear a lot of guys playing mumble rap. And really that's all you can really hear is like the bass, the 408, the 808s and all of that in the music. Yeah. There's really no lyrics being heard. There's a whole bunch of mumble, and then what you hear is like, look, man, I don't even know what they're saying.
Right.
The tempo and the bass, the beat, everything sounds nice, but that's it.
Right.
I mean, I can go around playing instrumentals all day. Right. If that's the case, you know what I mean? Right. And that's pretty much what it is. Like, you want to ride around playing instrumentals, man. But they hide so much into the frequencies.
Yeah.
That the people that are listening to it are actually in these kind of trances.
Yeah.
And they don't really think about, what mindset they're in at that moment. So when they're listening to a certain song, your mindset changes.
Yes.
Just like you said, back in the day. And this is why I'm going back to this part.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was all about love.
Yeah.
So our mindset back then versus modern day was all about love. Man. We were out to find. You know what? When you walked outside, you were wanting to fall in love, man.
Yeah.
Like it made you, the music back then, it made you feel like, you know what? I need to go fall in love.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset that it gave us. It gave us that energy.
Yes.
It surrounded us with that type of energy, man, to where you could play a song by whatever your favorite artist was. But by the time you stepped out of your car, by the time you got off the bus, I remember I was still, before I even got my car, that was right after I graduated high school. But before then, man, I would be on the transit bus. I would have my CD player.
I remember,
with my headphones, and I was jamming, man, and it was, you would have some people say, hey, what are you listening to? Yeah. Like you would actually have people ask you, what are you listening to?
Yeah.
Because you could be bopping or you could be rocking, and people want to know, like, wait a minute, like what's got him moving like that? Yeah. Like what are you listening to?
Is that headspace that you were in at that time too, that they see you in, so you may be bopping your head, you may be like smiling, or you may be just in your own space, and people just want to be a part of that.
Yep.
I think music as a whole has changed. Every genre of music, you would never get that same aesthetic in music now as you would 20, 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, I would say.
Most definitely.
Obviously, this is where music has come down to, especially R&B, especially certain genre of our music. You have people like millennials, saying how they wish they had grown up in the 90s, or they wish they were alive in this era when music was like this. And I'm like, well, if it is, they can say that. What does that say about their type of music? Like, when I was growing up in the 80s, I wasn't thinking about the music from the 70s or the 60s. I was thinking about the music from the 80s because it was like a whole new sound. So just to give a little context, my dad, he played a lot of songs from the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
Me and my sisters, to us, that was pollution to our ears. because again, we wasn't thinking about songs back then. We were thinking about Michael Jackson, Whitney
Right.
Houston, all of these artists that are coming in, group artists too.
Mhm.
So now I have a better appreciation for music, especially what he was playing back in the days.
Mhm.
And after a while, it started to, you see where a lot of inspirations came from.
Right.
The 60s and 70s, music from the 80s, and all they were doing was just trying to find that beat to fit that era.
Mhm.
That's why I was saying, I know I had said earlier, R&B took it to the next level in the 90s. Like, they outdid themselves in the 90s. Like, I don't think they could ever come back and do something to top that. It's like, yeah.
And you know what? I think I saw something on. I should say that, man. I saw something on the internet. It was about. No, you know what? It was a meme. It was a meme, and it had a GIF video.
Yeah.
Of Genuine on stage.
Okay.
And he's doing like the
I saw
pony
that.
slide.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, this guy has like the salt and pepper beard.
Yeah.
But you could tell it was still Genuine. I'm like, you know what? That's truly amazing, man, that something from that time period, that era, can still be seen.
Mhm.
It can still be appreciated.
Yes.
You definitely don't have male R&B artists out nowadays.
Right.
Not like they were back in the 90s. Back in the 90s, man, it was like a competition.
Right.
And that's why we had so many daggone CDs.
Yeah.
Because then you had Carl Thomas, you had Donnell Jones, you had Jaheim, you had all these other people, man, all these other talented brothers. And, it's a lot of those R&B artists that came out, Tank and all of them, man.
Yeah, Tank, yeah.
They, Avant. Like, man, it was just, it's so many of them, man. And they were some talented brothers. They were very talented. I know the vast majority of them, they got their inspiration, through incarceration. A lot of them were incarcerated. They got out the system and they started making music. And Life Jennings,
oh yes,
like the music was amazing, even up to like the early part of 2000, the early up to like 2005.
Right.
So from the 90s all the way up to about 2004, 2005, just the R&B artists, man, like you said, they took it to a level that where nowadays there's nobody out here that compares to them. I don't care what anybody says, man. Like, that really like set the bar. So of course you have like your greats, you have your Michael Jacksons, your Prince, and that's like 70s and 60s, right?
Right.
And then you have, your James Browns,
right?
Your Isaac Hayeses,
right?
Your Temptations, your Gladys Knights. You have all of these artists, man, and it evolutionized all the way up to, I would say, about 2004, 2005.
Right.
But the 90s was like the iceberg tip of that, right?
The apex, yeah.
It was right there, and then it was like a drop off.
Just went down, yeah.
And then you start getting trash music, and like you said, and I've heard it before, I've heard millennials say, "Oh man, I prefer old school music, man." Like, and most of the time when I'm at the barbershop, I hear those 19, 20-year-olds, man, and they're playing, like some Humpty Dump, like they even go back to, Public Enemy, man. They like, man, we really like I like old school music better than I do, this stuff that they got playing nowadays. I'm like, I kind of show gratitude because I'm like, back then, like you said, like, we were thinking about the music that was then.
Yes.
We weren't thinking about, we were here like the old school, be like, oh man, they about to do the electric slide again for like the 30th time, right? The electric slide, man, like that kind of music back that time period was, when it came to dating, you had a lot of joyful and happy relationships, because that type of music back then really brought people together. It was about bringing people together. Even back to like the Sugar Hill Gang and all of that stuff, man. It was about bringing everyone together. But the R&B, the soul music, the love music, the Gerald Leverts, the Lenny Williams. I don't know if you heard of him. So Lenny Williams, you had the Big Luther and the Little Luther.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know what I mean? Like it was a time for love and bringing people together, man. And when you went out, you know, a woman would be happy. She would be, I want to say, breathless, because you asked her out on a date.
Yes.
Because you bought her flowers.
Yes.
If not flowers, if you bought her one flower, just one single rose, man, like it would set the tone, and she would be like, you know what, I'm falling in love already.
Yeah.
Because that's the energy.
Yeah.
And it's shifted so much that it's very detrimental to our culture right now, because they don't have that. Yeah. We still have it, and we still have that charm. We still have that, AKA chivalry.
Yes.
You know, open the door for women. You know, even if it's a man, I don't care if I'm at the door first, and I see you walking behind me. I'm going to hold the door for you. Whether you're a male or female, it doesn't matter. That's just me having common courtesy and manners.
Of course.
But when it comes to the women, I always reach for the handle first. That's just the way I was raised. That's the way I was taught. Right. If they say thank you, you know, that's appreciated. If they don't, okay, well now I know what kind of frequency they're on. Right. And I won't even entertain it in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, that person is downright just ignorant. Yeah. You know, they have no mannerisms. Yeah. And I can't blame them, you know, however they were raised, or maybe they were having a bad day, but maybe the next time they see me, if they see me again and I open the door for them again, they'll say thank you. I don't know. But I just do it because that's the way I was raised. Right. And even with the younger guys out here, man, like even if I go to the gas station, like I'm walking to the door and I'll see 2 or 3 teenagers walking up to the same door. Yeah. I'll open it up, man, let them go in. Yeah. I don't know. Some of them say thank you, and they're like, oh, appreciate you. Yeah. You know, whatever they say, but they're showing their gratitude. Yes. Now, if they can do that for another man, why can't they do that for another woman? Right. Where's the communication lag? Because back then, everybody was doing it. Yes. Yeah. Everybody was doing it, man. Yeah. And it was like, you know, it wasn't something that you had to question. Yeah. Even if you got in a cab, yeah, you will open the cab door, yes, for the woman that you were dating, or if you were taking out on a date, or if you caught what they call a hack, yeah, which is like somebody just hustling on the side, and you give them like $5 or $10 instead of waiting for a cab. Yeah. You know, you will all, you know, open the door for the young lady, man, and let her in the vehicle. Mm-hmm. But now, and I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, man. I've seen like guys, they'll actually be in an argument as they're getting in the car. Yeah. And she opens the door, slams the door. He gets in on his side and slams the door. Yeah. And I'm like, man, like what is really like? There's something majorly wrong. There's something seriously wrong with this dating scene, man, and just how people interact, how men specifically interact with women. Yes. Because we're supposed to be raised to respect the women. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how much a woman disrespects you, and I know it's going to be people that hear this episode or listen, that's listening in, and they're going to feel some type of way about that. But even if a woman shows disrespect towards a man, should it be acceptable? No. Should it be tolerated? No. But at the same time, as a level of respect, the man should always respect the woman. There comes a time when you have to sit down, like we did when we started this episode, right?
Yeah.
There's a time where you have to draw the line and say, okay, you're gonna sit over here, I'm gonna sit over here. Let's have a conversation. When that is no longer an option, that's when we know we've hit rock bottom.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I see dating is at for modern day men right now.
Yeah.
Because they have no table to sit at, because the modern day society women, the whole mindset of modern day, I'm not saying the younger females, but having the modern day mindset. So I'm gonna clear that up as well. If you're between the ages of 18 and 24, you are not automatically considered modern day.
Right.
But it really depends on your mindset, because you can, I ran across a lot of 23, 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 19-year-olds that have an old spirit.
Very mature for the age.
Yeah, very, very mature, man. And I can sit down and have a conversation with them, and I can tell that everything is going through the proper channels.
Right.
But this whole modern day concept really boils down to a mindset.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. It has nothing to do with age, but everything to do with the mindset.
Right.
So when we look at modern day men, their mindset of being less, or being told they're less than what they actually are, being told that they're garbage, being told that they're simps, being told that they're, I think, so for the females, I think they call them pick-me's.
Yeah, pick-me's, yeah.
So it kind of went from the male side to the female side. So now you have women calling other women pick-me's, like, oh, you're a pick-me. Yeah. Why does that, a woman wanting to be feminine and wanting to follow this system, this universal system of love and caring, why does that make her a pick-me? Because she cares for, or she supports the mental health and the foundation of a man, of making sure a man is taken care of making sure a man is healed properly. That makes them a pick-me. They're labeled as a pick-me. Then on the male side, you have, oh, he's trash, he's a simp. What's the other one you said?
Dusty, they call him Dusty.
Oh, Dusty? Oh, yeah. I haven't heard that one in a minute.
They call the guys Dusty as well, too.
Yeah, he's dusty, he's trash, he's simping.
Yeah.
Just a whole bunch of wild, crazy slanders, man. And it's really to that point where it's destroying us literally from the inside.
Yeah. I think to answer that question about the women with the pick-me's, so there's this thing called the sisterhood a lot of modern women belong to. So the sisterhood promotes a lot of the word toxic is used around loosely a lot these days now in everything, mostly relationships. But they support everything that what a man does is wrong. So if a woman does something that's not part of the sisterhood, like, she's in her feminine state. She understands her role as a woman. She's not competing to be a man or with a man. The sisterhood attacks her for that. And, because we live in today's society, her behavior is 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. This is today's time. We don't do that no more.
Right.
I remember going to the gas station one time, just to go back to what you were saying about opening doors. Went to the gas station. I went to the store right there. And as I was walking a girl. She was young, like maybe early 20s, could be mid 20s too.
Mm.
So before I could get the door, she got the door and she opened the door for me. I said, no, 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 no. So I came around her and I held the door for her. I said, you go first and then I go afterwards. Yeah, sure, I could have went in and just say thanks afterwards, you know.
Mhm.
But because she looked young, she was a part of this, millennia. I'm like, no, let me hold the door for you. You could go in. Then I went in afterwards. So, a lot of labels get put on, men and women in today's society when it comes to modern dating. A lot of entitlements are thrown in there as well too. There's no
Mm.
there's no spiritual energy connecting between two of us. There's no vibe. There is no energy or synergy
Mhm.
that supposed to happen, that's supposed to spark, that
Mhm.
make a relationship the way it's supposed to be. Everything is for one night. How
There
much
you go.
are you gonna spend on me?
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. Oh man, we need a confetti. I'm gonna have to get me one of those confetti poppers, man. And I told Queen Alana that I should have had one for her the previous episode, but that is dead on, man. That is dead on. And as you speak about the whole entitlement thing, I see that happening more often. Like literally, like now. Even down to not even just dealing with relationships, but when you look at the children nowadays, I could go to the store, man, and I mean, there's kids crying and screaming. They want this, and they're not taking no for an answer. Now,
Right.
back then, I don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
Y'all already know what would have happened, because Mama would have handled that in the store.
Yeah.
Not even outside the store. It would have happened inside the store, in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And the only thing that would have made you cry is the embarrassment of that in front of everybody else. That's what really, would get you to start boo-hooing and tearing up and leaving puddles of tears on the floor.
Yeah.
It's not that, you got chin checked by Mama, but everybody saw it.
Yeah.
So you just got broadcasted,
Yeah. I mean, all it took was the look.
That's it. And half the time it was just a look, man.
Yeah.
It was just a look, and you get those chills.
Yeah.
And like, all right, hopefully she forget about it by the time we get home. Because yeah. But definitely, man. And thank you all for tapping in. Again, like I said, as always, I always appreciate the love and support. And my brother here, Dario, like I said, he reached out after the last episode, and we conversated, and I said, you know what, brother, just go ahead and come on the show, and we'll discuss some things. Very good, brother. I actually look forward to having him back on the show. And as we start piling up, our queue list for guests on the show, definitely look forward to seeing this brother and hearing from this brother again. Dario, I appreciate your time today, brother. I know the viewers and the listeners also enjoyed it. Thank you for bringing that high vibrational energy with you. As always, this brother is always on 20, not 10. He's always on 20 every time I interact with him. So I definitely appreciate him. And as always, again, I always appreciate the viewers and the listeners. Dario, you have anything that you want to say to the viewers or listeners out there?
I just want to say thank you, sir, for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure having a conversation with you when we do see each other. Thank you for having me on the show. It was an experience, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Want to give a shout out again to Majestic Alana. I listen to the show and you guys make a great team together, man. And I hope this goes a long way for you guys. I really enjoy your show. I want to say thanks to everyone who's listening, all of your listeners, your fans. Thanks for tuning in to this show, to the other segments that Multiverse and Majestic Alana do. You guys are doing a great job. And yeah.
Yep, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. Much gratitude again to you all. I'm gonna let Queen Alana bring the next episode in. She thinks she's getting away with being absent. So no. She's actually with her family right now. She's spending the holiday time with her family and loved ones. So you all please keep her in your prayers. Pray for her family. As for safety and guidance and protection as always. Multiversal, thank you for tapping into the MM podcast. Don't hesitate to elevate. Peace.